What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel, man. You guys know what we do here, man. We break down scary and creepy videos, man, from around the globe, from TikToks to YouTube to IG Reels, man. Anything and everything you can find right here on this channel. Got a good one for you guys today, man, so let's dive on in.
Something strange is happening in Iceland, but you might be able to help. After a billionaire named Andy Ronson invited 9 individuals to one of his exclusive retreats, one of the guests was mysteriously found dead. Now here's what's interesting. One of the guests, Darby Hart, witnessed the death firsthand and believes that it was intentional. However, the other guests don't believe her, which leads the girl down a rabbit hole of evidence, clues, and difficult conversations in order for her to prove that this death was by no means an accident, but a murder. And Darby must use her skills to make her case before this killer takes another life. And if you want to join her for the journey, this series is now streaming on Hulu. Thanks to FX for sponsoring this video.
This Texas girl.
Is that based on a real story? It's freaking kind of dark and twisted, man. How she got to prove that against a whole billionaire, man. The odds is already stacked against her. I definitely got to do some more research into that, man. Make sure it's not based off a true story, bro. Tell me what you guys think down below.
Went missing recently. Her family took the search into their own hands. What her dad uncovered was heartbreaking. Idania Campus was a 21-year-old female from Texas. Her family started to worry when she didn't turn up for school on the 28th of November. It was out of character for her not to turn up at school, and her mum had last spoke to her at about 8:20 a.m. Her family decided to retrace her last steps and went to a neighborhood in Houston. They had no luck finding her, so they called the police. Her 19-year-old boyfriend joined in the search, and heartbreakingly later that day a discovery was made. At around 5:40 p.m, it's reported that her dad broke into her Honda. They opened the boot to the car and found her body. Her dad told news sources there was no way to save her, there was too much blood. She was pronounced dead at the scene and had signs of trauma to her face. Ariel Cruz, her boyfriend, or reportedly ex-boyfriend, was arrested and allegedly confessed to being involved. It's alleged that he may have killed her due to her breaking up with him. He's currently being held in jail.
We need to talk about...
It's a freaking sad case, man. It goes to show you, bro, like, how some people, man, they just can't take no, they just can't accept the end, man. And when they can't accept it, bro, they just go on to do these even horrific acts, man. And the fact that he joined in on the search, like, knowing what he did, bro, like, those criminals, man, I don't get how they can do that. Like, normally joining in on the search, knowing what you did, but you just trying to, like, pretend to throw off suspicion, something like that, man. And it always comes back to bite them, bro. And the dad had to found in the scene like that, man. Truly a sad case. You guys know the drill.
Johnny Depp's portrayal of the Mad Hatter, because it is full of dark history Easter eggs that you may have missed. If you know of the character the Mad Hatter, then you may also know about the dark history of hatters. For 250 years, people that made hats were using a poisonous mercury-based solution that caused their bodies to fall apart and for them to slowly lose their minds, which I just did a whole episode on that and other deadly beauty and fashion trends that you should check out. When Johnny Depp got the role of the Hatter, he became obsessed with the dark history of hat making, and he wanted to include parts of that history in the character. And the biggest homage he pays to that history is with the orange hair. The mercury solution that hatters used to use was called keratin solution because it was so bright orange. They would sit in these poorly ventilated rooms all day just inhaling the poisonous mercury, getting sicker and sicker. And Johnny Depp wanted to honor that. He wanted the skin to be pale and sickly. He wanted his teeth to look like they were decaying because that's what would happen to these people. And finally, and this is my favorite detail, he put a lot of details into the costume to make it look like he was a hat maker. Up here in his hat, there's tools to make hats. He has a ring that's a push pin, and on the other side he has this belt of thread so he could be sewing hats all day. Anyways, I have so much more on the dark history of hatting in this week's episode, and you're definitely gonna want to check it out.
I was found dead.
That's freaking crazy, man. Like I said, watching those movies when you're a kid and stuff like that, you don't realize the freaking dark history behind these movies and things, man. Because I think I watched that a couple of times, but I really wasn't paying attention, man. Like I said, when I watch these TikToks with you guys, I'm learning new stuff as well, man. Dark history movies, man. Shit, TV shows, it's all around us, bro. Tell me what you guys think down below.
Dead in a cold room, and no one knows how I ended up there. My name is Kennica Jenkins, and I am a 19-year-old African American. To celebrate my graduation, I decided to organize a party at a hotel in Chicago. On September 8th, 2017, about 25 people were sharing this moment with me at the hotel. The event started around 11:30 p.m. and was marked by an atmosphere heavy with alcohol. Around 1 a.m., my friends and I decided to leave the party. When we reached the hotel exit, my friends realized they had forgotten some belongings in the room. That's when they left me alone. However, upon their return, I was nowhere to be found. However, during that night, my fate took a tragic and mysterious turn. I was found a few hours later, lifeless inside a cold room in the hotel. Several people at the party mentioned seeing me consume a considerable amount of alcohol. In surveillance videos, I can be seen staggering in the hallways until I reach the abandoned kitchens in the hotel's basement, where I disappear from the cameras. My blood contains a significant amount of alcohol and drugs. The circumstances of my death remain unclear, but what really happened to me?
I killed 2 little boys when I was only 10 years old. My name is Mary Bell, and I was born in 1957 in England. I had a very difficult childhood. My mother was a prostitute, and my father was a known criminal at the time, but he was never present at home and never took care of me. On multiple occasions, my mother tried to kill me when I was just a child, and she made it seem like they were just simple accidents. On May 25th, 1968, I committed my first crime at the age of 10. While I was in an abandoned house with Martin Brown, who was 4 years old, and without any particular reason, I decided to kill him by suffocating him. 2 months later, on July 31st, 1968, I made my second victim with a friend of mine, a 3-year-old boy named Brian Howe. With my best friend, I strangled him and then mutilated his body with scissors. This murder was particularly atrocious, according to investigators. On August 5th, 1968, I was arrested, and then I was sentenced to 12 years of detention for manslaughter due to my psychological state, and was released in 1980 at the age of 23 under a new identity. I am still alive at present, and am a mother.
This is the most
That's crazy, bro. She did that to a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. Like, the freaking victims got younger and younger, man. And she only got 13 years. Yeah, this goes to show you, man, how different the system was back then. It's just like, because you know what that happened in the day. Either life or something worse would have happened, bro. And she had to come out on a whole new identity, man. And it says she's still alive to this day. Bone-chilling case, man. True evil. You got another drill.
dangerous book in the world. The book is called Al-Azif. It talks about black magic in the ancient civilizations that used to live on Earth millions of years ago before humans ever existed. And they were satanic civilizations, meaning that before humans, there were jinns living on Earth, which is mentioned in the Quran, that jinns used to live before Adam and Eve. This book tells you about those satanic civilizations, and what's even more scary and dangerous is that the book tells you how to communicate with these creatures, which is just disturbing. And it is known that the average age of the jinn is 5,000 years. All the copies of the Al-Azif in the world, and many of them translated in different languages, were burned completely, and there is only one copy of this book on Earth, and it's located in the Vatican Library. And nobody can reach this copy without a specific and secret permit. The author of the Al-Azif is Abdullah Al-Adrad. He was a Yemeni poet and was born in 685, and passed away in 735. All the people around him called him the crazy poet or the crazy era man. And apparently he used the magic from the jinns he learned in the book in a very bad way. And he was then punished with a terrible punishment by the jinns. They sent a creature that cut off his private parts and took the rest of his body and immediately disappeared. So I don't know about you, but I never want to read this book.
This is the harrowing case of the deceased baby that was posted in the Mail. It was the 11th of May 1965 in Darwin, Australia. A postal worker named John Polishuk was expecting a normal day at work. Little did he know what he was about to find would haunt him for the rest of his days. An unclaimed parcel sat in the office, and this was not uncommon. However, this particular parcel had been sat there for 8 days, and something unnerving had started to happen. It had begun to smell quite bad, and liquid was seeping out of it. John decided to investigate and was horrified by what he found. Inside the package was a deceased newborn baby. part of the child's umbilical cord was still attached. In a complete panic, John rang the police. An investigation began, but unfortunately it was frustratingly unproductive. Now, the package had come from Melbourne to Darwin. It was documented that a J.F. Barnes at 2 Woolridge Avenue, Mentone, Victoria, had posted the baby. However, the officers involved in investigating this crime found that the address didn't even exist. There was also seemingly no such person as J.F. Barnes in the area. The parcel was also addressed to someone who didn't seem to exist. An autopsy concluded that the child was killed at just a few hours old. Horrifically, they had been strangled. Tragically, the mystery of the baby in the mail has still never been solved. After this woman vanished for 2 years, it was actually Google Street View that solved the mystery. Paulette Landrieu was 83 years old from Belgium. She was a mother of 4, and her family were understandably confused and heartbroken when she vanished. It was the 2nd of November 2020, and nothing of any significance had happened to explain her disappearance. She was living in Anden in Belgium, and police were stumped. Even after a really large-scale search, including helicopters with thermal cameras, she was still nowhere to be seen. They started working on a theory that maybe she had fallen into the local river, but after a search, nothing was found. The case went cold, and nobody seemed to have any idea what had happened to the well-loved pensioner. This was until one officer decided to try and trace her last steps. He decided to get a better idea of the geography of the local area by using Google Street View. As luck would have it, he actually came across images of Paulette. Cameras captured her crossing the road leading to one of her neighbours' houses. Luckily, Google Maps had captured several still images of Paulette. Police decided to search the scene and went to the neighbour's house that had been captured in the pictures. Paulette was found deceased lying on an embankment, presumably having fallen in a tragic accident. She was only meters away from her home. It isn't clear why police hadn't found her originally or searched that neighbour's house, and why the neighbour hadn't seen her themselves. Thankfully though, her family do now have some closure on this case, and she has been finally able to be laid to rest. This teenager from...
That case, man. Before that, the baby got sent in the mail, man, I just freaking sent chills down my spine. They couldn't even solve that freaking case. They kept saying it was like fake addresses and fake names and stuff. And that's been there for like that case. That baby was in that like for 8 days, bro. It's truly evil and horrifying, man. And that case with the old lady, bro, how the neighbor didn't know that she crossed over to the street and stuff like that was in the vicinity of that area. That kind of has me raising questions. I need you guys' thoughts down below on those cases.
Wiltshire had no idea that breaking up with her boyfriend was going to cost her her life. Ellie Gould was a 17-year-old student at a school in Chippenham. She was a bright girl and planned to soon go to university. It was May 2019, and Ellie had ended her relationship with 17-year-old Thomas Griffiths. Thomas refused to accept the fact that Ellie no longer wanted to be with him and decided to do the unthinkable. On the 3rd of May, Thomas emailed his teachers to say that he would not be in school that day and got the bus back home. He then took his mum's car and drove to Ellie's home, where he would launch a vicious attack. He stabbed her at least 13 times in the face and the neck, and then tried to stage the scene so that it looked like a self-unaliving. He put her hand around the handle of the knife to make it look like she'd done it of her own accord. Now, in the struggle, as you can see from this harrowing image, Ellie had desperately tried to fight for her life. She had scratched Thomas's face in a desperate attempt to defend herself, which left him with marks all over his face. Thomas knew that he needed to come up with a cover story. He messaged his friend on Snapchat to say that he'd been struggling mentally and scratching his own neck quite hard in order to account for his injuries. When Ellie's dad got home later that day after work, he had no idea what he was about to walk into. He found his daughter in the kitchen lying in a pool of her blood. Now, due to their recent breakup, Thomas was the obvious suspect and he was arrested. He pleaded guilty in court but got just 12 years in prison due to his age. Ellie's family is obviously understandably really upset by this. Since Ellie's death, her mum Carol has been campaigning to try and get tougher sentences for domestic murders.
This is Travis.
That is insane, bro. That case, he did all the truly evil and horrific things, man. He got 12 years. Man, I thought way longer. So I was like, sometimes, man, the freaking system, bro. Sometimes it fails, man. Sometimes it works, bro. Tell me what you guys think, man. Longest sentence, or should have been a harsher penalty, bro. Crazy, man.
The chimp, one of the worst animal attacks ever recorded, explained. This is Travis the chimp, and he lived with Sandra and Jerome Harold since he was a young chimp, and was often treated like a member of the family, but one day something happened. He exhibited unusually aggressive behavior, which made the Harolds call their friend Nash for assistance. But when Nash arrived at the Harolds' home, Travis the chimp suddenly attacked her. And the attack was extremely gruesome. Travis the chimp targeted Nash's face and hands. It ripped off both of her eyelids and then proceeded to rip her nose clean off, blinding her and also severing several parts of her body and lacerating her face. Travis the chimp was then shot and killed by police who arrived at the scene. But Nash's injuries were so severe that she had to undergo a face transplant and lost both of her hands in an attempt to save her life. But miraculously, she would survive. I would show you pictures of the attack, but they're extremely gruesome and I probably can't show them on here. So instead, I will play the 911 call made by the Harolds as Nash was being attacked by Travis the chimp. And you can hear Travis the chimp in the video going absolutely crazy.
Damn. Why would they allow to have a chimpanzee in the first place? Ooh. You hear the fear in her voice.
This man knows what happened.
It's freaking crazy, bro. Like, you see it, you can hear the freaking fear in her voice, man, saying, she's trying to kill my friend, or you're trying to rip her face off, bro. It goes to show you, man, like, how some people think, like, you know, wild animals, they cute and stuff, but at the end of the day, bro, they're animals, and it's different, like, in nature, bro, I guess. And that just goes to show you, man. Tell me down below what you guys think that is.
After death, and this is what he has to say.
Okay. All right. Let me go through the whole process of what happens when you die, and we'll cover those things in it. When you die, you become aware in another virtual reality. So your body dies, and you wake up, sort of like we're no longer in Kansas. You're in a different place. And that is called the transition reality, and it's another virtual reality. You tend to have a little anxiety at that point, particularly if you come with fear, like, oh, is this hell or is this heaven? So there's some anxiety with it, or maybe it was a traumatic accident that you weren't planning to die, it just suddenly overcame you. But in any case, you will run into something, there'll be some strategy there to help you relax and let go of your past life. So it could be the light at the end of the tunnel, all the things that the people who have the near-death experiences do. That's kind of the beginning of this pathway. Often there's the light and you get this intuition, that would be the larger conscious system sending you a message, move toward the light. So you do, and then as you do, you find, Aunt Susie and Uncle Fred, there to greet you, and because they passed on 10 years earlier, and they're smiling and they're happy and they're obviously having a good time, so it couldn't be too bad there. So these things are done just to put you at ease, make you feel relaxed, and let go. Your previous life begins to fade immediately, just like dreams do. You wake up from a dream, the instant you wake up, it's perfectly clear. 30 seconds later, it's a little fuzzy. A minute later, it's a lot fuzzy. And 5 minutes later, what was that dream about? I only remember a couple of major things, but all the detail disappears. So that's the way your memory of the last life just begins to fade, like a dream.
What kind of mother?
That is crazy, man. I mean, like I said, like everybody has different, I guess, near-death experience. Everybody has different stories, but you're saying it's like we wake up in like another reality, something like that, and your memories start to fade, your past life. I'm gonna have to do some more research on that, man. They said there's a part 2. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out, man. Tell me what you guys think, man. What happens, I guess, what happens, I guess, when it's over, bro. Very interesting.
Drives their 6-year-old child to the highest bridge they can find and then throws them off the edge. This kind. This is Gillian McCabe, and this is the murder of London McCabe. London was born in 2008 in Oregon to parents Gillian and Matt. In 2011, he was diagnosed with severe autism. He was described by his teacher as an animated, expressive little boy who was full of love. He loved to sing and make people laugh. London was the centre of his parents' world, but when Matt was diagnosed with MS, it all became a bit too much for Gillian, and in 2014, she began researching ways to kill her son. Prosecutors would later use her search history in her trial. On November 3, 2014, Gillian put London in the car, drove to Yaquina Bay Bridge in Newport, walked him to the edge, lifted him up, and threw him over the side. She then calmly walked back to the car, and as she heard her son's body hit the water, she dialed 911 and told them what she'd just done. Police had to then ring London's dad Matt and ask him to corroborate the story and make sure London wasn't with him. They then had to tell him that his son was missing, presumed dead, after being thrown off the edge of a bridge. Boats and divers were dispatched, and just a few hours later, London's lifeless body was pulled from the water. The most horrific thing is that the fall didn't kill London. It broke his bones, but what ultimately killed him was drowning. Gillian was arrested and charged with murder. Her internet history showed that she'd searched things like temporary insanity, insanity defense, and different ways to kill a child, such as stabbing or dropping from a 133-foot bridge, the exact height of the bridge that she dropped London from. Medical records show that she'd admitted herself into hospital a couple of times, claiming that she was suffering from mental illness, but that she was given a clean bill of health both times and discharged. Prosecutors in Gillian's trial said that London's murder was carried out with much calculation and that she'd faked mental illness in the hopes of getting off with a lighter sentence. Gillian was found guilty and was sentenced to life with a minimum of 25 years. In a statement from London's dad Matt, he said, "I can't say enough about this boy. He was my pride and joy. He was the centre of my world, and his loss leaves a hole in the centre of my universe. If you know an autistic individual, they need love too, probably more than you and I."
Crazy, man. She did all that research, bro, and to try to play it off, man, like temporary insanity, ways to freaking. Why would anybody even say? How do you even freaking resort to that, bro? It just goes to show you how evil and corrupt, bro, this system is, man. She got what she did. She got what she deserved at the end, man. Sad case, bro. Obviously. Like I said, this is an edit.
What? Look at that, mate. Look at that.
Edit.
What? Look at that.
A murder plot concocted by a monstrous brother and sister. One shocking thing about this story is that these two were in an incestuous relationship, and they were about to be found out. Sarah had 6 children who she brought up thinking that their father was dead. In actual fact, their biological father was also their uncle, Brandon. The couple lived apart, but Brandon spent most of his time at the family home on the Shire Green estate in Sheffield, South Yorkshire. The family were already on the radar of social services from quite early on, when Sarah's brother Martin witnessed abuse from Brandon towards the 2 oldest children when they were just toddlers. As the family grew, they actually flew under the radar and weren't contacted by social services until 2018, when the 2 oldest boys were teenagers and they'd started to get in trouble at school and in the local community. These 2 were terrified that their sordid relationship would be revealed, and Sarah had even said to a friend that she'd rather see her children dead than in care. It was at this point that they came up with their monstrous plan. On May 2nd, 2019, all of the children were forced to swallow medications found around the home, in an attempt to kill them. When this plan failed, the couple turned on the two oldest boys. Sarah strangled 14-year-old Blake with a dressing gown cord, while 13-year-old Tristan watched on in horror. Brandon then turned on Tristan and strangled him with his bare hands. As if that wasn't horrific enough, the couple then tied plastic bags around the boys' heads. Sarah then actually tried to drown one of the younger children in the bath, but this attempt failed. The plan had actually been to kill all 6 children, but for some reason Sarah had a change of heart, and she ended up locking herself and the children in the bedroom. She then texted a friend to say that Brandon was trying to kill them all. The police were called and all 6 children were rushed to hospital, but tragically, Blake and Tristan were pronounced dead. A murder investigation was launched and the couple were soon arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. They were both sentenced on November 12, 2019, and they both received life with a minimum of 35 years, meaning when they're eligible for parole, they'll be in their early 70s. The house where the murders took place in Sheffield has now been demolished, and a memorial to the 2 boys has been erected.
This is one of the most
freaking crazy, bro. Brother and sister relationship, and they have all those kids, and because they didn't want to get found out or something like that, they just try to end it all, bro. It's freaking, already freaking disgusting that the freaking brother says, bro. I'm like, then the fact they just try to break the kids into it, I'm like, man, bro. Every single day, man, it just shows you how this world can be truly evil, bro. I need you guys' thoughts down below.
dangerous men in American history, James Bartholomew Husky. And let me tell you, this story is extremely disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. So this story starts all the way back in 2006 when Australian authorities informed the FBI about a group of CP traders that were operating on the dark web. When the FBI began investigating this group, they recovered a particular set of images and videos that were extremely graphic and disturbing. These videos showed a pedophile, a large man wearing a mask that obscured his face, abusing a young girl multiple times. And over the years, these images and videos had been multiplying, and as they multiplied, they got more and more graphic and disturbing. Investigators knew at that point that the only way this was going to end was the death of the child in the videos. So they knew that they had to act fast, crack this pedophile code, and figure out who the man in the mask was. But they really had no clues, no place where they could start their investigation. In the videos, the girl was named as Tara, which could have been a nickname. In the videos, the abuser either obscured his face using computer blurring, wore a mask, or made the child wear a mask. But eventually, investigators were able to look at the backgrounds of the videos. They used the bedding, paintings on the walls, and car interiors to lead them to their suspect. And that's what led them to James Bart Husky, a former tennis coach from Lafayette, Georgia, who was the man in the mask. After they arrested Husky, they searched his home and found the camera that he used to produce all this material. They were able to identify the rooms and the car interiors based on the decorations that they had seen in the content. And they managed to locate Tara and interview her and make sure that she was doing okay, which she was. Eventually, Thomas Husky pled guilty and was sentenced to 70 years in prison, so he will die in prison. But this case helped to shine a light on an international pedophile ring that Thomas was a part of. Apparently, this ring was worldwide, and the people who ran this ring ordered production of CP materials from all different countries across the planet. The pedophile ring even had their own bank account that they would pay other pedophiles to produce CP for them with. And they paid people to produce this content in all different sorts of countries like Germany, England, Canada, etc. The group was also very, very strict about its membership policies. For example, you had to pass tests to get in, and you were never allowed to chat or speak with any other member because if one member came down, they wouldn't allow anybody else to get caught in the process. But that means that yes, while they caught Thomas Husky, that still means that there are hundreds of other pedophiles associated with this website and this ring that were never brought to justice. And disturbingly, investigators on this case referred to the series of videos that Thomas produced as being the most popular CP series ever produced on the planet. Another traumatic element that Tara has to deal with as she grows up, the victim in this case. I think that for a guy like this, the death penalty would definitely be appropriate, but what do you guys think?
This might be the...
Freaking crazy, bro. Just to show you like how freaking far expanded, man, over all the freaking different countries on Earth, man. They had their own bank accounts, bro. How the hell did they have all that set up, man? We can't track it or anything? crazy, bro. No, truly, actually, it's insane, man. How all those people, other people got away with it, but he was the one who got brought down. Tell me what you guys think down below.
The worst thing cops have happened to somebody in history. On May 7th, 2008, Rachel Morningstar Hoffman, a 23-year-old American college graduate, was murdered by drug dealers Danilo Bradshaw and Andrea Green. She was acting as a police informant in a botched drug sting by the Tallahassee Police Department. Her body was recovered 2 days later near Perry, Florida. Rachel Hoffman was under drug court supervision for possession of 25 grams of cannabis, discovered during a traffic stop on February 22nd, 2007. And on April 17th, 2008, the Tallahassee Police Department searched her apartment and uncovered another 151 grams of cannabis and 4 ecstasy pills. Rachel Hoffman faced a possible prison sentence if charged and convicted. Police attempted to persuade her to identify other marijuana dealers to avoid the charges. She refused. The police then pursued her to act as a confidential informant in a drug sting operation in exchange for not being charged with additional drug charges. The goal of the operation was to buy 1,500 ecstasy pills, 2 ounces of cocaine, and 2 handguns, using $13,000 in cash in a buy-bust operation. Hoffman's family even stated that all 3 buys were very out of character for her. 2 narcotic officers arranged for the drug buy at a specific location and were providing security for the buy. That was later deemed to be insufficient manpower to protect the informant and still apprehend the suspects. While Rachel was at the drug buy with the policemen monitoring her, the 2 suspects changed the location of the buy. She was informed not to follow the suspects to the new location, but technical issues prevented her from actually receiving the instructions. Her police handlers lost track of her when the wire they improperly installed on her failed, and she agreed with the suspects to change the plans and left the buy spot with the 2 suspects in their stolen BMW. While in transit, the 2 suspects allegedly executed Rachel on Dead-End Gardner Road in Leon County, with the gun she was supposed to buy. The Tallahassee Police Department admitted that Rachel Hoffman had no training to work undercover. She did not know the 2 men targeted in the sting, and she had no experience with cocaine or firearms, and very little with MDMA. The officers involved in the operation were suspended with pay, and the family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city. On December 17, 2009, which would have been Hoffman's 25th birthday, Danilo Bradshaw, one of the murder suspects, was found guilty of first-degree murder with robbery and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Andrea Green was also convicted of Rachel Hoffman's murder and sentenced to life in prison. This case is just sickening to read about because why in the world would the police let her go and do this? She had no experience in this world to this extent, and it was kind of like telling a blind man to read you a book. I feel so bad for Rachel Hoffman and her family, and may she rest in peace.
It's freaking crazy, bro. She got caught with all those freaking, I guess, drugs and stuff, and they try to flip on her, man, try to charge her with something and made her do something she obviously clearly didn't have no training to do. They said they didn't even train her, man. And she was buying stuff, I guess, that normally, I guess she wouldn't buy that. I guess that's what set it off. Or set off the alarms that something was wrong. That's just one case. I wonder how many other people, man, had freaking go undercover and something bad happened because they were pressed by the police, bro. You never know. You guys know what to do. It says something on it. It says I never see it though. Do you guys see it? Cause I don't. I truly don't.
This is Jim Sedaris, the pedophile fire chief. And this is a story from my hometown that I remember hearing, and this was huge news. So I'm originally from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and you used to see this guy on the news all the time. He was the fire chief. He was a really respected member of our community, and he was obviously friends with all the politicians in the state. By the way, I gotta add in here that this story is gonna piss you off. So Jim started working for the Sioux Falls Fire Department back in the year 1983. And over the years, he worked his way through the ranks until he was promoted to fire chief in 2011 by Mayor Mike Huther. While in this position, he even hosted a TV show for kids named Fire Call, the Fire Safety Show. I remember seeing this guy in the local news a lot because there were a lot of tragedies that happened in Sioux Falls during this era. 2 people drowned in the falls, which was big news. And then there was this huge ice storm where the whole city was iced over, and he was on the TV all the time. And in the year 2017, he was only 2 months away from his retirement when he was arrested by authorities and charged with possession of CP. So apparently the Massachusetts State Police was investigating an email account that was sending out CP images to people, and one of those email accounts that received these CP images was directly linked to Jim. So they carried out a search warrant, and yeah, they found CP on his laptop. So apparently a detective stated that they found over 100 images of CP that were linked to Jim, and he apparently frequented these really strange chat rooms, which were chat rooms themed around incest and other really bizarre sexually deviant activities. And while in court, the disgraced fire chief even admitted that he may have seen these images. And he tried to explain his actions, but at the end of the day, he was in possession of CP. And those initial emails that he received, both of them contained 8 images of CP. But there was about to be a massive twist in the case that would piss a lot of people off. So even though he was charged with 10 counts of possession, distribution of CP, he admitted guilt to 1 count, and he was sentenced to no prison time. 0 prison time. In fact, he was sentenced to 6 years in the penitentiary, but they suspended all 6 of those years. He was also handed a 180-day jail sentence with 80 days suspended, so I believe he spent a little time in, but for these crimes, having to spend no time in prison is crazy to me. And yeah, he did apologize and he went to therapy and all of that, but still, the victims of these crimes are the ones whose stories are never talked about. So yeah, even though this guy was in Yahoo chat rooms receiving images of CP, he was getting CP through his emails, and there was over allegedly 100 images of CP found that were attached to this guy. He spent no time in prison. And I think that that's probably because he was the fire chief and he was best friends with a lot of powerful people. Now, I may be wrong about that, but I don't know. You don't really see somebody not getting prison time for offenses that were this deplorable. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. But yeah, this story just pisses me off, especially because it's from my hometown. And I remember this happening and being like, ugh.
Crazy, man. It had to be because of the connections he had. Like, he was hitting it right on the neck, right on the head, bro. He had all those images, bro, and he didn't get not sentenced to, like, 1 year, anything, bro, no time. All the time Kafikin got suspended, man. It's because he was a fire chief, bro. Goes to show you, man, like, if you know powerful people, bro, how they can just do things, man, and you can get away with freaking truly evil, horrific acts, man. And that happened in this whole town, so you know he was pissed. YouTube, that's it, man, for this video for you guys today, man. Like I said, guys, in order for us to grow, man, I need you guys to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, man. That's the only way we can grow and we could grow fast. So please do those 2 things. Like I said, also tell me in the comment section down below, guys, what you guys think of naming our community. Like I said, by the end of this month, I want to have a community name for us. And yeah, guys, I'm catching the next one, man. I'm out. Appreciate you.